everyone, my name's Spencer and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I set up my June bullet journal setup. But before we get into that, I just wanted to quickly show you through my May setup. I wasn't able to show this setup to you guys because my hands were strapped up so much that I looked like a Yu-Gi-Oh character, and so I couldn't really use them. And then I caught COVID, so I was really ill and I wasn't able to edit the video in time. So here's a little sneak peek at it. I am really in love with the Doll's House Dutch door for the title and monthly spread. I was quite proud of myself for that idea. On to June though. Originally I had planned a different theme, but after watching the Eurovision final and the UK not only ending up on the left hand side of the board, but winning the jury vote, I decided that I had to do a theme loosely based on our entry. Honestly, I have never felt more patriotic than in that moment watching Sam Ryder do so well. I went to my inspo board on Pinterest and found this cute image of a little astronaut cat and decided that it was absolutely perfect. So here's my Space Cats theme inspired by Sam Ryder's Spaceman. By the way, this first little kitty that I drew, his name is Chewy, and I love him. I support him in all his hopes and dreams as he floats about in space. And no, I am not taking any further questions at this time. I also decided that I wanted to challenge myself with this setup using only black ink, black pens. If anyone has seen my Instagram post before this video, you'll already know how that went. Technically, if you're more accurate at drawing than I am, curse these shaky hands, you can do it with just a black pen. But if, like me, your hands shake as much as an Australian member of Stray Kids going on vibrate mode, then you might want to keep a white gel pen or paint pen nearby to cover any mistakes. This spread was one of those times that a design idea came to me fully formed. And you may have noticed, but recently I've been really enjoying having my cover page go across an entire 2-page spread, rather than the more traditional format, which is to have the title page on one side and a quote on the other. I did include a quote this time around, which is the line, "Gravity keeps pulling me down. As long as you're on the ground, I'll stick around." This line just really speaks to me, and if you know, you know. Back to the actual design of this page though. I decided I wanted to have one cat sort of by itself, surrounded by stars and planets, but its focus was on the moon it was floating down towards, where its friends are eagerly waiting for it. To tie the two pages together, I had this moon planet start on one side, but have the last section cross over to the other page. To keep this looking like a scene rather than just a page with a title on it, I wrote the monthly title on this moon using a very basic block lettering, and I tried to make it look like the letters were actually on the moon. I used two techniques to show depth and detail on this moon without doing a really detailed sketch, which also makes this easier to recreate. The techniques I used were a combination of hatching and solid black areas to show negative space, which then looks like craters or opening to tunnels that the cats are running around in. I did mess up one of the craters, and of course it had to be the one that was front and center, so I had some trouble covering my mistake, but oh well, we live and we learn. This is also why we keep white pens close by. I did find though that the Archer and Olive acryolograph I used actually looked more cream or yellow toned on the bright white paper of my journal, which is also an Archer and Olive. I'm not sure if I picked up the wrong pen and thought it was white when it was actually cream, or if this is just what their white pens look like. If anyone has any experience with their acryolograph, let me know. I would just like to take this moment to say I will never grow tired of drawing cat butts. You may have noticed that I like to make my cats a little chunky too. I don't know why, I just think illustrations of chubby cats are really cute. I actually did a whole kawaii cat cafe theme back in March, but again, because of my health, I wasn't able to upload the video of it, but the pictures of it are on my Instagram, so you can go there to check out what that looked like in the end. I didn't want to have to colour the entire background black, so I tried to be careful where I was placing black sections or planets and moons and stars to imply a night sky. It's a little difficult to explain, but hopefully you can see what I mean. Like in the cat's helmets, I kind of inverted the colours, so what would be light was actually dark. Following that concept, I went back to my June title and used that hatching technique to make it appear filled in and solid, but not like an empty negative space like the inside of the craters. I then went in and added all the the little moons and planets. Again, having some of them more detailed, which gave the impression that they were closer, and making some solid black, making them appear further away. Kind of like how when we look at the stars, they look like bright white dots, but we can see more detail on the moon. I just kind of, again, inverted that, so instead of it being bright white when it was further away, it was solid black. With my quote, I decided that instead of just writing it out how I normally would, I wanted to make it a little bit more artistic. I don't know what word to use, but basically I wanted the meaning of the words to somewhat dictate how the word was written. This also meant that I could play with different fonts and showcase them all here so that I would be able to use them throughout the rest of my setup, giving me more freedom than if I was just to choose one or two styles, which I've done before, kind of had headings in one style and then a different font for either subheadings or normal writing. But sorry to go on about it again, but with the state my hands are in, I can never really know if I'm going to be able to, on my dailies, use a particular font. I'm just going to write what's easiest for me, which is usually a kind of cursive font. So I gave myself the freedom to do whatever font on other spread that I needed to. So the fonts I chose were this bubble font, which is basically block lettering just with the corners rounded a bit more, a solid black version of the black lettering on the title page, and a more cursive font. I wrote gravity in the bubble font and filled it in with that hatching method, so it wasn't completely solid, to go with the idea of it being a force rather than a physical thing. I also did this for down and ground, as these felt like other pertinent parts to highlight for me. I then alternated between using the cursive font and the regular block font to fill in the rest of the word. I really like how this came out. It kind of reminds me of a writing task we were given in like primary school, where we had to write a poem about an animal and then write the poem in the shape of that animal. So it brings me a lot of joy to look at this. I'm still not the best at lettering or calligraphy, but it is something that I'm working on. Next, I had a lot of fun drawing in little sparkles and stars and dots around the letters, planets, moons, and cats. And this just helped fill the space and give an impression of a solar system. Bear with me, I know very little about space. Science is not my strong suit, so I apologize if I'm using the wrong terms for anything. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I am always happy to learn new things. As you cannot see, due to my amazing ability to draw out of the bloody frame, despite however much room I give myself, I'm adding another cat in this bottom left-hand corner. How are you all enjoying the different shots, by the way? I'm trying some new things and being a bit experimental in my style again as I get my footing once more in what I want to make. So let me know if you like this combination of wide angle and close-up shots. Next, I'm working on my monthly calendar. As you may know if you've watched any of my previous videos, this spread gets so much use, either just as a reference or as somewhere where I literally write down everything that is happening, both planned and what actually happens, usually using some sort of colour code. Last month, I found that having my monthly on a faux Dutch door with my trackers behind it was so helpful when it came to filling in my trackers. You'll see later, but I use a mini calendar style for my habit trackers, but I never have the spoons to write all the numbers out in them, so I just leave them blank. So having the start of the week of my monthly page visible when I'm on my tracker page makes checking that I'm colouring in the right day so much easier. Like I don't have to count anything, really. I can just see, okay, yeah, this is on the right week and we're Wednesday, so that's 3 boxes across. Instead of a faux Dutch door this time though, I'm doing a real one and cutting away the furthest right edge to reveal the page behind it. To try and get smooth rounded corners on this page to match the rest of the journal, I used the strip that I cut off as kind of a template. This had varying degrees of success. Honestly, I probably should just get one of those corner cutter things. It would probably save me a lot of time and energy. But this technique does work if you have the patience, which I do not always possess. I also use that same edge that I cut off to draw smooth rounded corners on my calendar boxes. Unfortunately though, because it's not see-through and wider than my usual rulers, I couldn't really see when to stop drawing the lines, and so the white gel pens also made an appearance here. This month my calendar boxes are roughly 5 dots across and 6 dots down, with my weekend boxes being a little bit bigger so I can put in a few extra things. And because I knew how much I wanted to cut off of this page to reveal the habit trackers, I just had the weekend fill in the remaining spaces. I realised realised I don't really like it when my calendar's split weirdly across the binding of the page. I either like to have Monday through Wednesday on the left and the remaining days of the week on the right, or all of the weekdays on the left and the weekend on the right. I don't know why, it just works better for me and helps me break my week up. Usually I would have space on this page to write notes, but since I've cut nearly half of it off on this side, I don't really have that space to write it. But that's okay because I can do that in my notes and brain dump pages. I again used that bubble font for the days of the week, leaving them white and colouring the header box black. I also added a drop shadow to the right hand side and coloured that in using the hatching technique from the creators on the previous page, just to try and tie those ideas together and make the pages cohesive. I also added another lyric, this time using the line, "I'm up in space, man," just for an extra bit of decoration. And of course, I also had to add another space cat floating through space. This time, starfishing, as it does so. Also, I really enjoy doing this style of blush on my doodles. I've realised that in a lot of my sticker designs recently, I've been making this a feature of them. And here's what it looks like with the headers all filled in. Next are my tracker pages. As you can see, I'm tracking 3 categories of things, and these are my pain, my moods, and my habits. I've decided to switch up my pain tracker a little bit, still using a mini calendar style, but breaking it down into morning, afternoon, and evening to try and see how my pain changes throughout the day, and what things I can do to improve it. Unfortunately, my camera cut out whilst I was setting these up, and I'm really sorry about that. But here you can see what I went for in the end. Again, I did those rounded block capitals, and I also used my stencil to create small circles underneath the titles, and I'll use these as my key once I decide what symbols I want to use for each feeling, or to show what's been done, not done, or just not recorded. I'm thinking I'll use symbols over a colour code this month, because I still want to try using just black pens. I decided to change up my mood tracker, and instead of doing a mini calendar, decided to use the space between my habit and pain trackers to draw 30 little moon planets. Yep, that's what I'm calling them now. I thought having these moon planets and cats floating between them helped tie this spread back to the title page as well. Also, I love this little kitty who's about to furrock the moon planet it's holding. Next up we have my expenses tracker. I started using this back in April after discovering Erin Smith's channel, and it looked like a really nice and easy way to start trying to sort out my finances. For the one in April, I actually set it up using a page I'd accidentally skipped when doing my weeklies during the month, so that's why it's not included in the initial setup. I am thinking about setting up a financial or budgeting bullet journal, so if this is something you're interested in, let me know and I'll try and record the process. Anyway, this is a really simple spread. I basically have a table that's split into 3 columns, one for what the item I spent money on is, how much it cost, and what category it falls into. I use a 2-page spread for this, but only set the table up on one side, so that on the other page I can either use it as an overflow page if I fill up the previous table, or I can use it to take notes. Because both of these are tables and fill the majority of the page, there wasn't a huge amount of space to decorate, so I filled in the background with black pen. Initially I did it solid black on the left hand side, leaving a small white border around the table, and then did hatching on the right hand page, but I actually end up going back and changing the hatching to solid black. I just think it looks a bit better. I added some doodles on the blank space of the right hand side to make it look a little bit like the control panel boxes on the cat's space suits. Oh, and of course I had to make sure there were more sparkles. Now we have my brain dump page. This might actually be my favourite page of the whole setup. I think it's so cute, especially after I add a couple things later on. I've said this before, but for me, a brain dump page is just a dedicated note space to jot things down that maybe don't fit into a weekly note. I also use it to practice doodles for stickers, that sort of thing. But I call it a brain dump instead of a notes page because the amount of serotonin I get from writing the word dump in various fonts is embarrassingly high. I left a lot of this page blank, so I have the maximum amount of space to use throughout the month. For the header, I again drew a space cat holding onto a moon planet, and drew more of those to house the other letters of the title, occasionally having 2 letters in each doodle. I don't know why I love this spread so much, but it gives me great joy to look at it. Oh, and here's where I go back to recolor that last page. Next, we have my first weekly setup of the month. I always just start my weekly on whatever day the month starts on. I know some people like to start on the first full week of the month in their planner, but that doesn't really work for me. I'd rather just start on the first day and work from there. So here I've got Wednesday, Thursday and Friday and the weekend all in separate boxes. And then the next weekly spread will start on a Monday and have all of the days of the week on it. Doing it this way means I can be a little bit more experimental for the first weekly and maybe try out techniques or different styles that I haven't done before, but don't want to commit a full week or even a month to. For this week, I am doing another cutaway Dutch door style, but I'm leaving a large tab on the right hand side. This is because on the left hand side of the page, I'm putting a mini calendar in the corner and I'll highlight which week of the month we're in. But when I flip the page, I'll be on a new week, so I will need a different mini calendar. This way, the tab will cover up what will then be outdated information, but will still show what's underneath the mini calendar. I wanted to do it in a Dutch door style because I wanted to try something I haven't done in a long time, and that's have an ideal week schedule on the left hand page under the mini calendar. This way, when I flip the page, the mini calendar will be covered up, but the weekly routine will still be visible. I'm going to try this out for the first couple weeks, but if it's not working by the end of the first full week, I can just turn the page over, cover it all up, and try something else. If you're interested in following that process, I'll be posting updates on my Instagram, so if you follow me there, you'll be able to see how this works out. Of course, I had to add my decoration, so there are plenty of sparkles on this page, and several space cats making an appearance. For the daily boxes, I gave the ones on the left-hand page a black border and kept the page background white, but on the right-hand side, because there was less background space, I reversed this and did a black background and gave the boxes a hatched border. I also left a small white border around the elements just so that they still popped against the black background. Okay, so here's where I decided to change things up, like I hinted at in the beginning of the video. If you just want to use one tool, i.e. the black pens for your setup, you can absolutely stop here. I'm really happy with the way these spreads look just with the black ink. But I am nothing if not an extra little shit, and so I couldn't resist going in and adding washi tape and stickers. I'm sorry, I know I said I was trying to just use the pens, but I couldn't help myself. The sticker gods made me do it, okay? I started on my monthly page and just gave it some borders using this black and gold night sky washi tape, and then I added a thinner sparkly silver tape to the top. I can't tell you where these originally came from because I bought them secondhand in a huge bundle. I did find though that this particular silver tape does not like sticking to itself, so creating a seamless border at the top was quite difficult. I did make sure to cut the tape around my space cat at the bottom of this page, just so it still acted like a background and wasn't covering up any part of my doodle. For my tracker pages, these were already very full, and you could see the washi tapes from the previous page via the Dutch door. So I added this more subtle, thin lunar cycle tape to the top of the Dutch door and down the side of the habit trackers. For my expenses tracker, again, obviously there's not a huge amount of space, so I actually used some offcuts of that black and gold tape to add slithers of sparkle on the black background. I then layered a matte silver tape and a wider sparkly silver tape, not that evil one that doesn't like to stick, in the empty space on the right hand side, just to hint at that spacesuit vibe again. For the brain dump page, I started by using that black and gold tape again down the sides, and again I just cut it away around my doodles. By this point, I was on a roll and could not be stopped. I remembered that I had some constellation stickers from an Archer and Olive subscription box. This isn't sponsored by them or anything like that, I just happened to use a lot of their products in this setup, so I decided to use those stickers to fill in the empty spaces. These stickers turned out to be perfect because they all had a black border around them, which worked with my whole not wanting to colour the entire background black thing. And the gold star stickers with the black borders were the perfect addition to tie the washi tape in with the rest of the doodles. I used those same black and gold stars for my weekly page, as I didn't really have a lot of room for washi tape. I also used this moon and stars sticker from that same sticker sheet, and I think that all really helped the little elements become really cohesive. I did eventually find some space for some washi tape and put a little constellation sticker over that. Finally, I went back to the title page and just went ham on the stickers. I was fully committed by this point. Gone with thoughts of having this setup be an entirely blacking setup. I didn't want to add washi tape in solid colours here because I thought it would throw off the balance slightly, so I just used those black and gold star stickers to really show the theme off and add some sparkle. Have I mentioned that I love this setup? Because I really love this setup. I know it's a little extra with the washi tape and stickers, but if you can't be a little extra in your journal, where can you be? Thanks for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please give it a like, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so we can hang out some more. If you'd like to, please also comment down below your favourite page or even cat from this setup. It really helps me out with engagement. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!